Dortmund started the 2017-2018 season unbeaten in 7 and looking ready to challenge for the Bundesliga title again. Bayern were crumbling and it all seemed to be set up for Dortmund to once again take home the title. But they finished in 4th place, barely scraping by a Champions League spot. They finished 8 points behind their Rhine River rivals and 29 points behind the champions. So what happened to Dortmund to make this year their most bizarre and chaotic of the decade? Well, it begins, as it always does, with Ajax were flying high, on their way to a Europa League final, and manager Peter Bosz was picked to take over at Dortmund, who had just recently parted ways with manager Thomas Tuchel. Having said his goodbyes to his squad before the match, the Ajax players rallied behind their outgoing manager to beat Manchester. Just kidding, they laid a goose egg on the score sheet. But it was no matter, as Bosz ticked all the boxes for a Dortmund manager. He wasn't overly old, he played an exciting, attack-oriented style of football, and he believed in his youth, all of which were very important to the Dortmund board. And after the high of coming down from the sale of Ousmane Dembele to Barcelona for a duck's worth level of piles of cash, they were looking for a repeat in the process. The summer transfer window was an odd one, as it helped set the club up for success in the future, but damaged them in the present. The more notable of outgoing and incoming transfers during the summer were as follows. Electricity on Grass, aka Ousmane Dembele, was sold for buku bucks to Barcelona. He was replaced by Andriy Yarmolenko and Maximilian Philipp. The former was released from his Kievan captivity finally, and when compared to his predecessor at right wing at Dortmund, although he didn't bring the pace, or the skill, or the scoring, or the dynamicism, he didn't really replace him, but Maximilian Philipp also never lived up to his potential and was sold to Russia a season on. Nearly the entire defensive core was also shipped out, as Neven Subotic, Sven Bender, Matthias Ginter, and Mark Bartra were all shipped out and replaced by Manuel Akanji, Dan Axel Zagadou, Omer Toprak, and Jeremy Toljan. For the youth, Emery Moore was finally set free and was replaced by Jadon Sancho, and this was the only great decision Dortmund made for just about an entire year. The preseason came and went, and it wasn't quite bright for Dortmund. They only won 3 of the 7, and that included losses to Rot-Weiss Essen and Espanyol, but there's no time to dwell on that because of the first 7 games, Dortmund won 6 and drew just 1. It was such a bright start, and Dortmund seemed to be back to being unstoppable in the Bundesliga. It seemed the motto, the best defense is a good offense, was taken to heart by Bosz, as the team averaged 3 goals a game through their first 7 matches. And although a Champions League loss to a 10-man Tottenham Hotspur side may have seemed like a minor setback, Dortmund responded a few days later with a 5-0 drubbing of Peter Stoger's Köln side on the weekend. Going into the October international break, Dortmund seemed to be an unstoppable juggernaut. But hold on to your butts because it goes downhill from here. This is the collapse. The next chapter of this season for Dortmund was a bad one, and after failing to win in a run of consecutive fixtures, a 4-0 lead over their arch-rivals Schalke seemed to be the end of that winless drought. Wait, what's going on? Why is everybody panicking? Guys, it's just 1 goal. It's not a big. Okay, it's 2 goals. Wait, hold on. Why did Aubameyang get sent off? Wait, hold on. Just a little bit long. They wouldn't manage a win in 12 straight games. The only points they were able to scrap up in the Champions League were draws to Apoel Nicosia from Cyprus. Dortmund did not see victory in the league for 2 months. The board said enough is enough following a 2-1 home defeat to Werder Bremen, and Bosz was sacked and was immediately replaced by... Wait, Peter Stoger. I know that name. Why does that name sound familiar? Well, Stoger took over FC Köln in 2013 and promoted the Billy Goats to the top flight in his first season in charge. A few years later, in 2016-2017, Köln finished in 5th place and gained entry to the Europa League behind the outrageous form of French striker Anthony Modeste. Unfortunately, the club was sent an offer they could not refuse from China for Anthony Modeste, and he was moved out east. The club wasn't worried. They'd finished just outside of the Champions League the year before, and they were hungry to make a push for the Champions League in this season. For the 2017-2018 campaign, well, holy balls, they didn't win a single game till halfway through December. Are you kidding me? Okay, well, they were in the Europa League. How'd they do in the Europa League? Okay, well, they won one against Bosz from Belarus. That makes sense. And they won one against Arsenal. Wait, no, that can't be. Arsenal lost to a team that didn't have a league win. No, that can't be. Well, they did. Yikes. Regardless, the writing was on the wall for Peter Stogerball and Köln, and on December 3rd, they sacked him. After Bosz's dismissal 6 days later, Dortmund brought him on to be the manager on a permanent basis. He did what was asked of him. Dortmund managed a 4th place finish and qualified for the Champions League, and everyone goes home happy in the end, right? Well, not exactly. You see, we must discuss. Raphael Honigstein of ESPN explains the hiring and tactical reasoning behind the hiring of Peter Stogerball, stating that Bosz's disastrous, high-concept, high-risk, high defensive line had been the main culprit behind Dortmund's steep decline. And due to that, Stogerball's ultra-pragmatic, safety-first, and non-ideological approach suddenly proved to be hugely appealing. Additionally, it should be noted that according to Honigstein, the Dortmund bosses, CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke and sporting director Michael Zorc had already been in contact with Stogerball back in May when Tuchel's departure became inevitable. Factoring into the decision was that Watzke and Zorc were impressed by the genial and unassuming personality of Stogerball. On the pitch, Stogerball lived up to his reputation of being a safety-first system, as Dortmund failed to score more than a single goal in 11 of the 19 games that Stogerball was in charge. So what exactly is Stogerball? Well, Stogerball is a highly complex, ultra-evolved form of managerial bullshittery called parking the bus for 90 minutes, haphazardly throwing a bunch of forwards out on the pitch and hoping that they'll score. This worked on occasion, as winter loan signing and Chelsea's most dangerous loan boy, Michy Batshuayi, was able to form a formidable strike partnership for the end of the season, with the recently returned from injury Marco Reus. The two combined for 13 goals on the season, and that was equal to the tally set by Aubameyang before he told Watzke to f*** off and left for Arsenal halfway through the season. Stogerball went about his job at Dortmund, and they turned back into being unbeatable in the league. Though dull to watch, it did get results when needed. Dortmund had gone 12 games unbeaten and looked to continue their unbeaten run against their Bavarian nemesis. Although a win or a draw would aid them in their quest to return to the Champions League, this match, as it always is about much more than points. It's playing for pride. March 31st, 2018, the Allianz Arena. The Prussian side had experienced good form as of late, but once again they ran into an international break which saw their squad separated for a handful of days. Before the match against Bayern, 12 games unbeaten in the league, and they were looking to make it 13 against the champions-elect in the world-famous Der Klassiker. Well, this Der Klassiker comes with a free German lesson. You see, the whole country, before the match, waited
Gespannt für ein Fritzeburger.
Bayern scored. And in the end, the Bavarians got to look on gleefully and forced the Prussians to experience some extreme Schadenfreude. Dortmund looked unprepared and ill-equipped for the Bayern side that scored within 5 minutes and managed to make it a 5-0 lead at halftime. The former Dortmunder twisted the knife in the side of the away team and completed his hat-trick in the 87th minute to make it a 6-0 loss. 2 weeks later, Dortmund were unable to net a single goal against their arch-rivals, whom they had put 4 past in their previous outing. But there was more in store for this Dortmund season. You see, it's time for the exciting finale. After a 4-0 beatdown of Bayer Leverkusen, Dortmund were in pole position for a Champions League spot. 6 points out of their last 9 would guarantee third place over Bayer, who were 3 points behind them, and Hoffenheim, who were 5 points behind. I mean, there's no way Dortmund can mess up this situation, right? May 12th, 2018, match day 34. It all comes down to this. A result would guarantee Dortmund third place, but a bad loss could leave them exposed and dangerously prone to falling into the Europa League. This is the final match day. Simultaneously playing these matches, Bayer Leverkusen looked to put a rout on Hanover. A handful of goals would have given the home side the possibility of reaching the Champions League. Meanwhile, Hoffenheim and Dortmund were set for a showdown. It's time. 3 minutes in, Lucas Alario gets the scoring started for Leverkusen with a fantastic volley. 3 minutes after that, Julian Baumgartlinger is taken down in the box, but Wendell misses the penalty and Dortmund can breathe easy for a little bit longer. In the 18th minute, a defensive calamity by Hanover sends Lucas Alario through on goal again, who makes no mistake after rounding the keeper. Back in Hoffenheim, Andres Kramaric pounces on a poor clearance by Roman Bürki and opens the scoring to put the pressure on. Hoffenheim are level with Dortmund. Dortmund's goal differential over Leverkusen is now only 2. Another concession by each of the away sides would see Dortmund playing zip codes in farmlands in 2018-19. Inevitably, Julian Brandt scores in the 55th for Leverkusen to put them 3-0 up, but Royce responds for Dortmund, and as they draw level, they're able to go 1 point ahead on 56 points and secure third place if the result holds. But in the 63rd minute, Manuel Akanji decides that an Adam Zaloy being on the ground is good enough, which of course means when Zaloy stands up and has the ball played through to him, he is unmarked and he chips Bürki to put Hoffenheim ahead. If Dortmund concede again, they would go 5th place on goal differential, and they conceded again because they can't properly defend a set piece. That's it. They're screwed. Dortmund choke it away on the last day. They clawed their way back from 8th place to go 12 unbeaten and throw it away with 1 point out of their final 9 to lose the top 4 spot. And wait, Leverkusen concede 2 in stoppage time? And Dortmund are given new life. And just like that, Dortmund are saved from another season of Europa League suffering. In an outrageous stroke of fortune, Leverkusen got lazy and, sitting on the 3-0 lead, Hanover put 2 easy crosses into the box and both were turned into the net. Bayern were forced to settle for 5th place, and Dortmund and Stoger narrowly avoid failure of catastrophic proportions. This is the end of the season, which leads us to... After the match, Peter Stoger stepped down as the head coach of Borussia Dortmund. He did what he was assigned to do. He stabilized the club, and they secured a Champions League spot. In an impressive feat considering they were in 8th place when he first took over. "I'm happy that we achieved our most important goal," Stoger said after the match. "I hope that my successor can bring a little bit more stability and serenity to this team." His successor, Lucien Favre, took over from Nice and has been on the heels of catching Bayern in each of his first 2 seasons, but has not been able to pass the round of 16 in the Champions League with Dortmund. Overall, Stogerball was not remembered fondly by the fans. It was seen as an anti-Dortmund way to play, as the team had enjoyed so much great success and beautiful attacking football, that a results-based approach was not taken well by the fans. Peter Stoger has since resumed his coaching career with Austria Vienna, determined to make an impact in his hometown club. In conclusion, Dortmund and Peter Stoger were bound to be star-crossed lovers from a romance novel I haven't read. They met together for a brief time with a fiery passion, but in the end it was better for both sides to move on and see other people. They knew they were not right for each other and that they would never last, but they carried forth anyways because in the present they were what they needed. Captain Hindsight has a very important message for Peter Bosz and the Dortmund board. If you replace all of your defense at once, you're going to constantly concede. That's not even a question. It's a mixed bag to dig through the roller coaster that was the Dortmund season, and it wouldn't be fair to pin any specific labels on it. It wasn't the worst of the decade, and it was one that will hopefully be forgotten by the fans. It gave the club important pieces to build on for the future, while still keeping them relevant in Europe. There's a lot to unpack here, especially in regards to Stoger, so here's my... The 2017-2018 season now exists only as a painful memory to Dortmund fans, as the 4-goal blown lead to Schalke and the 6-0 defeat to Bayern remained seared into their minds. But the rest of it is forgotten and washed away amid the shifting sands and meteoric rises of Jadon Sancho and Erling Haaland. Although horribly boring and marred by one of Dortmund's worst moments from the entire decade, Peter Stoger did everything that was required of him. The club was in a freefall when he took over, and he managed to stabilize the club, give them a lecture on the risks of high-risk, high-reward defending, and develop the youth while setting the club back on the track for success. Though his playstyle could put an insomniac to sleep, Peter Stoger was there when Dortmund needed him. Upon conclusion of his task, he was gone. He was Dortmund's silent guardian, their watchful protector, and in all earnest and sincerity, he was Dortmund's Dark Knight. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit more about the 2017-2018 Dortmund season. If you would be so kind to leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you want to see more of this, feel free to subscribe.